American vet who claims he defected to Russia and Ukraine served just 2 years in the U.S. Army left as a PFC. The self-described communist said he was previously assigned to Fort Bliss, Texas. What? He defected to go fight for Russia in Ukraine? An American military veteran who told Russian state-run media he defected to Moscow after fighting with Ukraine's International Legion served very briefly with the U.S. Army.
A foreign mercenary in just a year. Former U.S. Army soldier John McIntyre was a foreign mercenary in Ukraine. Earlier this month, he defected to Russia. He brought everything with him: papers, files, intelligence, and maps.
Intelligence? What the f did they think this guy was getting as a random member of the Foreign Legionnaire?
Thing is, he always meant to.
The first question is, why are you here? I mean...
Well, it's the reason I came to Ukraine in the first place. You know, I'm a communist, I'm an anti-fascist, and we have to fight fascism everywhere, you know. So when I came to Ukraine, I knew that I would try to get as much information as I could about, you know, anything that'd be helpful and defect across lines. The problem is
what does he think he was going to get as a volunteer? This random American, like, 20-year-old shows up, and the Ukrainian government's like, oh my god, finally, somebody we can trust with all of our military secrets.
When I was in Kharkov, I was going to swim across, and I found anything that'd be helpful and defect across lines. The problem is when I was in Kharkov, I was going to swim across, and I found out they had snipers in position, so if anybody, and actually found out that the snipers were for defectors, not for actually protection. They were actually, anybody that tried to defect, they would shoot them, you know.
Yes. If you join the other side, if you're in an army, and then you join the other army, you're a legitimate target for the snipers. Yes. They're probably not put there to stop people from switching sides, though, because nobody is. They're probably there to take out saboteurs, spies, and scouts.
Since March 2022, John served in Ukraine's Foreign Legion and Nationalist Battalion Karpatskaya Sech. He saw and documented the Ukrainian war machine in all its ugly glory from the inside. He became part of it.
God bless Ukraine, God bless America, but you, Russia.
Damn, dude, holy shit. This guy's in deep cover right now. Holy shit. Is he a triple agent? I think he's just a retard, mostly.
As time went on, you know, I had to become more nationalistic, more Nazistic, you know,
He tried joining Azov Battalion while having Russian flags sewn into his clothes and promote... What? Okay, somebody just linked this in chat. I thought I was just getting a human interest story. I didn't realize this guy was like a rabbit hole. Okay, this is more... According to McIntyre, he planned to infiltrate the Azov Battalion before leaving the country. He said he felt compelled to do what he did because the Ukrainian government and the Nazis that control the government and control the population, you know, the things they're doing in Ukraine to the Russian people, they need to be talked about. He doesn't actually sound like that much of an ideologue. I think he might just be mentally ill. Somebody in chat said he changed religions like 6 times or something. I think he might just be mentally ill and really, like, susceptible to propaganda. What? No. We have too much to go over today. I had to become Nazi, do Hitler salute to maintain my Dude, I was doing all the crazy shit, man. I was doing the Hitler salute. I was stepping on Russian flags as though those are, like, comparable levels of... Like, oh, yeah, man. I have video of me asking if I can step on the Russian flag. Yeah, I don't have any video of me being told to Sieg Heil. Dude, they forced me to step on this Russian flag. And the video's like, hey man, can I do this? Yeah. Russia, yeah.
When I first came, I kind of expected they wouldn't be that big of a problem. Like, I kind of, you know, assumed that it was just like I didn't think there was actually that many. But when I came, I was really surprised. It was everybody have, you know, tattoos and Nazi symbolism. Sometime later on,
any evidence
on my Facebook page, I had pictures of Che Guevara and the Soviet Union, and I got questioned for having communist views, and I had to think quick on my feet, you know, and I just told him, I said, hey, I'm an anti-fascist. I'm here to fight Russian imperialism and the Nazis and this and that. And they said, No, the Russians aren't the Nazis. We're the Nazis. And
who said this?
We have video of this?
Who said this?
It was just some guys from Croatia or Czech. I can't remember what they were. But
these are foreigners.
What? So you're not even saying they were Ukrainians? Some guy from Croatia? Like a guy? If you're making up the story anyway, yeah, you guys wouldn't know him. He's from a different battalion.
As well.
Foreigners, yeah, foreigners.
The proliferation and dominance of Nazi ideology, from swastikas to SS emblems, is well documented and studiously ignored by Western states and media.
It's true. No one's ever talked about the Ukrainians being Nazis. That's true. No one's ever given that any thought or discussion. I've never heard it being brought up.
And we're supporting these guys, and these are supposed to be our ally, and we want to put them in NATO with us, and they can't even follow Geneva Convention, and they're supposed to be our friends. You know, like, this would never fly in America. The United States would never stand for this. Our whole country is literally burning in front of our eyes.
Yep, this guy's mentally ill. No, I mean it. This guy's actually just mentally ill. He doesn't have, and this guy has no cohesive ideology. If he was ideologically pro-Russian, he would never have said that. No ideologically pro-Russian person would have gone, oh, dude, America would never do war crimes. No. He's just mentally ill. He kind of looks mentally ill, too. It's that haircut. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is mean. If you have the haircut that he has in chat, you look great with it, okay? I don't trust it. Face shape? Yeah, I'm bringing out my mental calipers. It's the haircut, the accent, and the dull eyes. The accent's just a southern accent. The way he talks and the way he, like... Okay, I'll just say this. Leaving aside all the stuff about him making shit up and changing religions or whatever, the only people who would join the foreign legionnaires to fight against Russia with Ukrainians, to get info on them, to then defect to Russia, the only people who would do this are either insanely ideologically committed people, the kind of people who have, whether they're right or wrong, a fire in their heart that, like, keeps them going, or deeply unwell people. And those are the only two people who could do that. That is literally it. There's no middle ground here. Nobody can bumble their way into this kind of behavior. And nobody would do it for a grift either. It's too dangerous to do for a grift. It's just insane behavior. And he doesn't come across as like he's Lee Harvey Oswald too. You're right. Oh, dude, holy shit, you're right. What? Oh, for those of you who don't know, Lee Harvey Oswald was like a defector, but he was so crazy that the Soviet Union didn't take him seriously, right? He's like a lolcow on his own. Basically, he was like a military guy, and he was like, I have collected American military secrets, my Soviet comrades. Accept me into your glorious communist society, and I will show them to you. And then the Soviet Union looked at Oswald, and they were like, wow, this guy's crazy. But Oswald was like, I have secrets. So basically the Soviet Union just like put him in like an apartment, and they were like, yeah, here you go, communism. I'm not joking. Look, after attending 12 schools in his youth, he quit repeatedly. Finally, when he was 17, he joined the Marines. He was court-martialed twice and jailed, honorably released from active duty, flew to Europe, defected to the Soviet Union, lived in Minsk, married a Russian woman, had a daughter, returned to the United States with his wife, after defecting. And by the way, the reason they let him come back into the United States after defecting was because the feds thought that he was like no risk because he was too crazy. Literally, it was like they were because like he's a defector to the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and they let him back in because they were like, he's just like this. That's not a joke. And then he came back in, and then he killed the president. Oops. Then settled in Dallas, Texas. I wonder what he did there. Oops. He tried to go to Cuba before JFK. Yeah. He spent time in Mexico City. Man, he was just... By age 15, he considered himself a socialist. He wrote to the Socialist Party of America. He had been studying socialist principles for well over 15 months. Edward Vobel, who the Warren Commission had established was Oswald's closest friend during his teenage years in New Orleans, said reports that Oswald was already studying communism were a lot of baloney. Vobel said Oswald commonly read paperback trash. Yep. He was a 15-year-old who said he was a well-studied socialist, and this man's reading dime comics. We've heard this one before. Oh, yeah. He was court-martialed after he shot himself in the elbow with an unauthorized .22 caliber handgun. Well, thank God it was just 22. court-martialed a second time for fighting with a sergeant who he thought was responsible for his punishment in the shooting matter. What? He recovers from the first court-martial and the shot elbow, and then he's like, all right, that guy who got me to... He was demoted from private first class to private and briefly imprisoned, later punished for a third incident where he was on nighttime sentry duty in the Philippines. He inexplicably fired his rifle into the jungle. Slightly built, Oswald was nicknamed Ozzy Rabbit after the cartoon character. He was also called Oswaldskovich because he espoused pro-Soviet sentiments. He was in the U.S. military during the Cold War. He got court-martialed twice, and people were just joking about him because he was pro-Soviet. Oh my God. Some men were born to be entered into the history books. While Oswald was in the Marines, he taught himself rudimentary Russian. On February 25th, 59, he was invited to take a Marine proficiency exam in written and spoken Russian. His rating at the time was rated poor in understanding spoken Russian, though he fared rather reasonably for a Marine private in time at the reading and writing. He received a hardship discharge from active service, claiming his mother needed care. He was placed on the Marine Corps Reserve. And then he went to the Soviet Union. He spent 2 days with his mom, then embarked by ship to France, then went to the United Kingdom, then he went to Switzerland, then he went to Helsinki, then he got a Soviet visa, then he crossed the border by train and arrived in Moscow. Almost immediately after arriving, Oswald informed his in-tourist guide of his desire to become a Soviet citizen. When asked why by the various Soviet officials he encountered, all of whom, by Oswald's account, found his wish incomprehensible, he said he was a communist and gave what he described in his diary as, quote, vague answers about great Soviet Union, end quote. On October 21st, the day his visa was due to expire, he was told his citizenship application had been refused and he had to leave the Soviet Union that evening. Distraught, Oswald inflicted a minor but bloody wound to his left wrist at the hotel room bathtub soon before his tourist guide was due to arrive to escort him from the country, according to his diary, because he wished to kill himself in a way that would shock her. Delaying Oswald's departure because of his self-inflicted injury, the Soviets kept him in a Moscow hospital under psychiatric evaluation for a week. That's actually more than what the U.S. would have done under these circumstances, I think. According to Oswald, he met with 4 more Soviet officials that day who asked if he wanted to return to the United States. Oswald replied by insisting he wanted to live in the Soviet Union as a Soviet national. When pressed for ID papers, he provided his Marine Corps discharge papers. How can you prove to us who you are and that you want to be Soviet citizen? Here, I was in the U.S. military. I worked with the CIA. I was with the feds. Here you go. Hey. He appeared at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow and declared a desire to renounce his U.S. citizenship. I have made up my mind, he said. I'm through. He told the U.S. Embassy interviewing officer that he had been a radar operator in the Marine Corps, and he had voluntarily stated to unnamed Soviet officials that as a Soviet citizen, he would make known to them such information concerning the Marine Corps and his specialty as he possessed. He intimated he might know something of special interest. Such statements led to Oswald's hardship/honorable military reserve discharge being changed to undesirable. The story of the defection of a former U.S. Marine to the Soviet Union was reported by both the Associated Press and U.S. Press International. I have secrets. Dude, he literally is just this guy. He's a private, and he's like, I have great secrets that I am willing to share with you, my glorious communist brethren. They're the same guy. Is this guy going to shoot Biden? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He was sent to Minsk to work as a lathe operator. Wow, damn. Like actual unironic Soviet-style state capitalism. Like, okay, all right, defectee, you are now a lathe operator at the Gorizont Electronics Factory. Good luck. He received a government-subsidized, fully furnished studio apartment in a prestigious building, an additional supplement to his factory pay, which allowed him to have a comfortable standard of living by working-class Soviet standards, though he was kept under constant surveillance. And then they fell in love. Returned to the U.S., he wrote in his diary, in January 61, I am starting to reconsider my desire about staying. The work is drab, the money I get has nowhere to be spent. No nightclubs or bowling alleys, no places of recreation except the trade union dances. I have had enough. Shortly afterwards, Oswald, who had never actually formally renounced his U.S. citizenship, rode to the embassy of the United States requesting his return of his American passport and proposing to return to the U.S. if any charges against him would be dropped. This is what I mean about not being, like, ideologically committed. He's just mentally ill and doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. That's it. He doesn't, like, know or care about socialism. He just, like, heard about the Soviet Union being a socialist paradise and thought, like, finally a place for me. But then he goes over there and it turns out everything's gray concrete. They left for the U.S. where they received less attention from the press than Oswald expected. Dallas-Fort Worth. I wonder what happened here. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. We have a while before... No, we have another assassination attempt to get through before we get to JFK. Whoops. My apologies. This guy... Edwin Walker assassination attempt. Who? An outspoken anti-communist, segregationist, and member of the John Birch Society. Wait, hold on a second. Wait, hold on. Comrade Oswald. Keep cooking. Walker's later actions in opposition to racial integration at the University of Mississippi led to his arrest on insurrection, sedition charges, and other charges. Hey guys, remember when we used to arrest people on insurrection, sedition charges? Remember when that used to be a thing that we could do, even though the law is exactly the same? That was cool, back when that was a thing that we did. He was temporarily held in a mental institution on orders from President Kennedy's brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, but a grand jury declined to indict him. Marina Oswald testified her husband told her he had traveled by bus to General Walker's house and shot at Walker with his rifle. She said that Oswald considered Walker to be a leader of a fascist organization. That is true. A note Oswald left for Marina on the night of the attempt, telling her what to do if he did not return. It was found 10 days after the Kennedy assassination. The what? Before the Kennedy assassination, Dallas police had no suspects in the Walker shooting. Oh, they didn't know Lee Harvey Oswald was the guy who shot at him until after the JFK assassination. As Oswald's wife, Marina, was showing Jean around the apartment, they discovered Oswald's rifle standing upright, leaning against the wall inside a closet. Jean told George that Oswald had a rifle, and George joked to Oswald, "Were you the one who took a pot shot at General Walker?" When asked about Oswald's reaction to this question, George de Monrenschild told the Warren Commission that Oswald smiled at that. What? They didn't have a suspect on the shot taken at this guy, and then some random ass guy saw the rifle. He was like, "Ah, man, you were the one who took a shot." And Oswald was like, "Maybe, no." In Monroe-Child's wife, Jane, was asked about Oswald's reaction. She said, "I didn't notice anything." She continued, "We started laughing our heads off. Big joke, big George's joke." New Orleans, he was hired as a machinery greaser because that was a job back in the 60s, I guess. Then he went to Mexico. Then he came back to Dallas. And then he killed the Who the f is J.D. Tippett? No, how many people did this guy shoot? A police officer? Okay, I don't... The mayor of Dallas? Oh, okay. J.D. Tippett drove up in his patrol car alongside Oswald, presumably because Oswald resembled the broadcast description of the man seen by witness Howard Brennan firing shots at Kennedy's motorcade. He encountered Oswald. Oswald could have easily walked. They exchanged words with him through the right front or vent window. Shortly after 1:15 p.m., Tippett exited the car. Oswald immediately fired his pistol and killed the policeman in 4 shots. Yeah, policeman, not mayor. Numerous witnesses heard the shots and saw Oswald flee the scene. Holding a revolver, 9 positively identified him as the... Okay. Arrest at the Texas Theater, police interrogation, and then he was killed. Truly a classic escapade. And yeah, it's the cycle of life. You live by the schizo assassination, you die by the schizo assassination. It's the only way he could have gone. Who's Jack Ruby? Probably another rabbit hole. Detectives were escorting Oswald through the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters toward an armored car that was to take him from the city jail to a nearby county jail. At 11:21 a.m., Dallas nightclub operator Jack Ruby approached Oswald from the side of the crowd and shot him once through the abdomen at close range. As the shot rang out, a police detective recognized Ruby and exclaimed, "Jack, you son of a bitch!" Back when this was a real country, where we had real police. The crowd outside the headquarters applauded when they heard Oswald had been shot. Can you imagine that? Like you've bagged the guy who assassinated the president of the United States, and some guy in a fedora runs up and shoots him with a little snub nose. And you're like, Jack, you son of a bitch! And then Oswald died. Ruby later said he had been distraught over Kennedy's death, and the motive for killing Oswald was saving Mrs. Kennedy the discomfiture of coming back to trial. Others have hypothesized Ruby was part of a conspiracy. The most plausible explanation for the murder of Oswald by Jack Ruby was that Ruby had stalked him on behalf of organized crime, trying to reach him on at least 3 occasions in the 48 hours before he silenced him forever. The allegation is that the mob had talked to Oswald, and he just wanted to keep that from getting out. Man, I'm mad at Ruby. Can you imagine the recorded testimony that we would have had from Lee Harvey Oswald if somebody had given him a microphone and asked him to explain why he killed the president? We would have books worth of insane schizo shit, man. Can you imagine him being cross-examined and him explaining his life? Oh, dude. He could have lived in jail. He would have gotten life in prison or the death... Well, wait, Texas. Death sentence. Maybe he could have written a book while he was on death row? I don't know. No schizo testimony. Oswald's tombstone was stolen, lol. Yeah, people didn't like him. He killed the president. People liked JFK. Lee Harvey Oswald is literally the voices are telling me to reach for the officer's service weapon. Literally, yeah. Police gun glowing. This is Lee Harvey Oswald's entire life is that one meme. That was quite the rabbit hole. That was fun, yeah. Lee Harvey Oswald is indeed a character.